Alright guys, Croatia and Wales just played out a really interesting and entertaining 1-1 draw, and it was thoroughly enjoyable to watch. Croatia, I think, were the more dominant side in the first half especially, but probably edging it as well in the second half. But it's about what you do with the ball. In Croatia, whilst they did have a lot of attacking opportunities, especially in the first half. We'll get onto the goal in a minute, but they were, building up more attacks than Wales, and that is the truth, especially in the first half. The goal came through Andre Kramaric, and it came from a poor piece of Wales defending, I would say. It's a ball that shouldn't really be able to... that Kramaric shouldn't really be able to control. He's in it sort of like a physical duel with Nico Williams, and Williams just loses track of where the ball is for a split second, and that's enough for Kramaric to get past him. And it is a brilliant strike from Kramaric with sort of like the outside of his boot, even though he's not really tried to get much bend or curve on it. He's just tried to put a bit of power in it. So it was a bit of an unorthodox technique to strike the ball with for Kramaric, but it worked for him, so can't complain, can you? And that put Croatia ahead. And just before that, actually, Croatia did also have the ball in the net just before that, but it was ruled out for a foul in the build-up, and I think it was correctly so. That it was sort of like a push in the back, as I can't remember who it was who won the header. It might have been Kovacic, and it was a foul. But Wales, they really weren't showing enough in attack in the first half at all. The closest they really came to scoring was a late Harry Wilson free kick just before half-time. And even that, it wasn't really testing Dominic Livakovic in the Croatian goal. And yeah, Croatia in midfield, they just had too much for Wales. When you compare the names, like Croatia had three experienced, I wouldn't say legends for all of them, but Luka Modric certainly falls into that category, whereas Mateo Kovacic and Marcelo Brozovic, they go under the category of brilliant players who have been brilliant in their domestic leagues and on the international stage for at least half a decade now. So, up against very good Croatian midfield, and Wales with the midfield they had with an ageing Aaron Ramsey, well, a past his best Aaron Ramsey. I think that's fair to say. He's still a decent player, and to more inexperienced players in Joe Morel and Ethan Ampadu, it was a little bit of a mismatch at times. But to be fair to Robert Page, second half, he changed things up, made a few substitutions, and things started to go Wales's way a bit more, because the first half that they weren't putting many passes together, but in the second half, I wouldn't say that there was that much more in terms of putting passes together, but when they did, they went forward with a bit more purpose, and they looked more threatening, and that a lot of that's got to go down to Robert Page, I think, for making the changes, and it did make a difference when they were putting a bit more pressure on. Croatia still were getting forward as well. And they actually nearly scored a wonder goal through Mateo Kovacic. He played a really nice 1-2 with Kramaric. And it was one of them where before the 1-2, he feints as if he's going to volley it top corner, but plays it into him. And it's one of them round the corner ones. And for a player of Kovacic, the position he got into when he struck the ball, you'd expect him to do better, because, we all know how good Kovacic's technique is. Like, we've seen him score, brilliant goals in his Chelsea career. He's one of these where he'll only score 2 or 3 goals a season at most, but, expect them to be in goal of the season compilations come the end of it. The one against Liverpool last season stands out. Even a few weeks ago, he scored a brilliant scissor kick volley against Leicester So, you know, especially when it comes to volleys as well, I was expecting a bit more from him. And Modric also had an opportunity to do a similar thing in the first half as well. So the problem was for Croatia here is that when you come up against a team like Wales, who, you know, they're a passionate bunch who, you know, will run through brick walls for their country. Like, I know you can say that about all nations really, but for Wales, you sort of do have this feeling of that there is something like an unbreakable bonds like between them and their fans, if that makes sense. I can't really understand what it is, but it just feels a bit that way. Like when you see them sing the national anthem before the game, you do see, you know, there's not one player who is sort of like mouthing the words, that they're all, you know, belting out the lyrics, if that makes sense. So, you know, Wales will keep fighting until the end is what I'm trying to say. So when you are 1-0 up against them, you need to, you can't just sit back and relax, because anyone who is a half decent team, which Wales are, they're capable of scoring a goal in the last 10 minutes of the game to get an equaliser. And I think that this was a really good chance for Croatia to, you know, just make a statement basically and say, you know, we've got aging players. We've still got a very good team, but even though the players are aging, they're not slowing down anytime soon. And I was trying to keep an eye out for some of the younger players coming into this Croatia team, because there is going to get to a point where, even as brilliant as Luka Modric still is, he's 38 this year, I think he is. So there is going to get to a point eventually where he is going to have to pass the baton on. And yeah, there were a few younger players starting. Obviously, we know how good Livakovic was from his performances at the World Cup. In my opinion, along with Emiliano Martinez, he was probably the best goalkeeper at the tournament at the World Cup. But also you have players like Josko Gvardiol, who I know I'm going to be a little bit biased, because I tend to only really see him when he's with Leipzig in the Champions League. Now, obviously, the standard of football in the Champions League, on average, in knockout games, aka against Manchester City, is going to be higher than it is in the Bundesliga. And I don't know, but from the performances I saw from him at the World Cup as well, to me, he doesn't look like a £100 million centre-back just yet. I think that there's definitely potential there, and you can definitely see parts to his game which are really impressive and show that he has good defensive instinct and is very capable with the ball at his feet. But there are other times where you see him get caught out and he does have to, you know, make a dangerous foul. Like that, there was one occasion in this game where Harry Wilson got away from him and he shouldn't really have been able to. Gvardiol should have dealt with it sooner, and he had to take his man down. And I think in the end, I can't remember if he did get a yellow card, but he was quite lucky to get away with one if he did get away with it. So yeah, I'm still not 100% sold on him yet, but I think, you know, he could be very good. Borna Sosa as well. He's been in the team for a while now, but he looks really good. Same with Juranovic at the opposite side of fullbacks, also very good. And you know, they've got other talented players in their team, like even Kovacic and Pasalic in midfield, that they're still yet to turn 30, so you'd think they should be in and around the team for at least 5 years to come, I would have thought. But it is the attacking areas where I think problems start to, not problems, but maybe question marks start to come for Croatia in terms of the future of their attack, because obviously over the past 5-6 years that Mandzukic is no longer in the Croatia team. That's been the case for a good, but probably since the 2018 Russia World Cup. I can't remember Mandzukic playing for them at the Euros, but you know, they've been without Mandzukic for a while now. Perisic is going to hang up his boots soon, I would imagine, as well, maybe after the next tournament. And it's same with Kramaric, but it just doesn't seem like they've got bags of options in terms of attacking players. I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, I mean, next week it could just be like, oh, there's a new unearthed talent from Croatia on the scene, like somewhere in like the Bundesliga or Serie A or something like that, tearing the league up, and you know that can happen. But right now, it just doesn't seem like that's the case for them. But yeah, as I said, Wales, they got the late goal. It actually came from the substitute Nathan Broadhead. It was one of them, just a long throw with flick on, and he managed to get there at the back post just before Livakovic could smother it. And you know, Wales always in with a shout in this game, because they'll keep going right until the end, like I said. And this is an absolutely amazing result for Wales as well, to, you know, get a draw away against a team who have been back to back, well, semi-finalists at the last two World Cups. I mean, they got to the final in 2018, so they came second in 2018 and they won the third place playoff at the most recent World Cup. So, you know, the last two tournaments, second and third, and Wales have just gone away to them and got a draw. So, you know, this is a really impressive result for Wales, and in qualifying for the Euros, this is a huge result, and, you know, it's what they needed to kick off their qualification campaign for the 2024 Euros in Germany. And it's also a way of saying, you know, we're more than just Gareth Bale. There is more to this team. They have had to, not, I wouldn't say rely on Bale, because I think Bale's relied on Wales as much as they've relied on him, because in the last few years with Bale's sort of lack of match fitness, because he hasn't really had many minutes playing for his club team. As like good technical ability as Gareth Bale has, and when I say good, I mean absolutely amazing. There have been times where it's like Wales sort of have 10 runners and Gareth Bale rather, well, the goalkeeper as well. So 9 runners and Gareth Bale as outfield players, because Bale wasn't really doing much off the ball. It was more about what he can do on it and from dead ball situations and things like that. So, you know, it's not going to be a complete fall off a cliff now that Gareth Bale's gone, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, yeah, really good performance from Wales, a good performance from Croatia as well, and a bit of a disappointing result for them. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.